In this video, I'm going to introduce you to sequences now. You could call sequences arrays. Now, in the last video, we showed you how to iterate over a sequence using for loops. And this was basically just to show you how we would use a sequence and so on. But in this one, we're going to introduce you to sequences. There will be future videos delving even deeper into it because I don't want to make videos too long. So let's start with people, all right? And people, we could say David, and then we could say James, and we could say then John, and we could say Jeff, etc., etc. So what are all of these? These are names: David, James, John, and Jeff. That's quite clear because you've been through the string videos and so on, and we've talked about it a lot right now. And all we're doing is we are comma separating these, and we're putting them in these square brackets. And what this square brackets is saying is that there is a sequence, all right? Because between each comma, there is just a value, all right? Now, this is actually a indexed array, which means that as the array goes along, each element in an array or a sequence has an index, okay, and they all start at 0. So the first element that gets added to the index has the index of 0, okay? So David has the index of 0. And then when we add a second item, James, that has then the index of 1. And I'm going to keep going here. And then next, John has then the index of 2, and then Jeff has the index of 3. Now, if we want to see the length of the array, we can say people.count. And let's go ahead and do that, shall we? So sequence, so people counts is equal to people.counts. And when we run this, you're literally going to see people count 4. So what we can say is that Jeff is the fourth element in the sequence with the index of 0. Or we can say Jeff is the third, right? The third index in the array, in the sequence, okay? Now, sequences are always ordered. Means that the first one is always the first one, second one is the second one, third, and fourth. When you append a new person onto the end of the sequence, we have to say var for that, because let's just show you what would happen if we try to add another person on. And we append another element to the array, and we say Steve, and we try and build this, and you can say cannot use mutating member on immutable value people is a let constant. So we have to tell the compiler, hey, you can add on other elements to this array. So when we run this once again, we can now see that people count is 5. So what we are able to also do is to output, let's just show here, output person at index 2, for example, is, and if we say people here, and we use the square brackets again, and this is basically saying, hey, go to the index, what we're saying of 2, right, in this array, all right? And so if we run this, you'll then see person at index is John, and that was true. So we see that David is the 0th, and James is the 1st, and John is the 2nd index, all right? If we change it to 3, let's just leave that as it is. And we can then see that we go to Jeff, and Jeff is 0, 1, 2, and 3, all right? We can also then say the last one, which we know is always then the last one on the end, or the first one is on the beginning. We always know this. So when you put the last one in, as in Steve, and we've got like 4 here, right? We can see that we get Steve now. Okay, index 2 is wrong, but let's now see what happens if I say 5. And you can see here that we get a fatal error, index out of range, because this means that we're trying to access a place in memory that doesn't exist, all right? Because this is a var, this tells the compiler, hey, at runtime, we can add items to it, and but we can also access it how we want. Now, before we do this, we need to just double check, and we can do it with an if statement, something very simple. And we can say in this situation, if 5 is less than or equal to, right, people.count, and this would be too many right now, and we have to say -1, because the -1 is saying, hey, if there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements in there, and we now want to access the fifth element, we know 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got to -1 off the end of count to know whether or not this index exists. So if 5 is less than or equal to people dot count, then we can print out person at index 5, all right? And we run this, and we can see that we get people count 5 here. So we know that that one doesn't exist, right? So if we now come and append another person on, and we say Terry, and we run this, we can now see person at index 5, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is actually Terry. So this is a way you can be able to check this. And if you are going to write some code for like an entry exam or something like that, and you are going to access the index of an element, always make sure that you test to see whether that index does exist. Now, there might be lots and lots of other ways of getting around this, but I just want to indicate to you that this way here is the minimum way that you should at least be doing it. There are other possible ways to get around this, okay, but I just wanted to show you that the most imperative way of doing it is this way. Right, with that said, I hope I've given you a quick introduction to sequences and informed you about how they are ordered. And if we want to loop through sequences, then you can check out the previous video about that as well, and it will show you how we can iterate through these sequences using a for loop or a for in loop or a for each loop and so on. With that said, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and if you do have any questions, concerns, or any feedback, let's have a conversation about that in the comment section down below. Thank you very much for watching. Ciao, ciao, and goodbye.